we need criminals. Criminals are the ones who teach us to go around the certain edges and corners that the law at times tell us that we shouldn't do, but yet when it comes to on a personal level, a lot of us can understand as to why we would justify certain situations when it comes towards being in the same light or same circles as a set of people. Example number one. A lot of criminals have firearms, and a lot of us sometimes get restricted due to firearms. Restricted from firearms, even though that, for example, you may get arrested for something that may be concerning a misdemeanor, or let's just say something potentially bigger, a state or federal crime. Let's say if you were selling, Zans, just to throw that out there. You have a family, you don't have a job, you're temporarily looking for one, you're not really trying to do this thing forever. And, I don't think, no matter whether you're a criminal or not, I think we could all agree that all of us are trying to do things to, as an adult, because I don't know the age group of the people watching this video, but as an adult, I'm pretty sure we all understand that sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do in order to survive, which I'm pretty sure anybody above the age of 18 and gotten their own apartment or went through a school, because, 78% of America lives paycheck to paycheck. I think we all agree that sometimes you may need a firearm for certain situations, and I just want to throw another one out there before we go any further onto the topic, because I know the drug dealing situation is probably going to ruffle a lot of feathers. I'm just going to throw this in there for the purpose of YouTube. I think it's personally unfair that you could get arrested and restricted from your firearms rights for, if I'm going off my experiences I looked up, that you could be restricted and dropped off in the same neighborhood that probably gave you trauma, that you probably ran away from shots from, or hears of potential kidnappings and murderers, and you just want to take care of your kids. You don't want to get shot at by any potential robbers because your car looked nice, or you just overall just, you don't want nobody to break into your house. You just overall just worried about your safety concerns due to your neighborhood. And sometimes it's not even based off in the neighborhood, because criminal and crime could follow you regardless of where you are. Crime has no limits, whether that's on a political level or for the everyday individual. Let's just say a normie. A lot of us could agree, or some of us that we personally talk to, if it wasn't for little things such as marijuana or being introduced to CBD in these in these gas stations, or having some type of vice, that a lot of us would probably do potentially way worse in life in terms of actions and our mental health if we didn't have these vices. And honestly, the only vice that I feel like I could support as somebody with epilepsy is marijuana / cannabis. I don't know how sensitive YouTube is, but I think it's fair to say that sometimes the police and the judicial system, despite the way how they are heroically portrayed, they're not always on your side. I don't think anyone should give up their Second Amendment rights or have them limited in any way until it's proven that they were doing something wrong. If you want a firearm and you don't want it traced to you, you just want to survive, something to potentially throw away, which you think people are typically aiming to go towards, firearms, people who want to throw away or get rid of them, and you may not just be able to order them online just due to the fact that you've been charged with something or just been restricted. Some stores may not allow you to walk out without them, only because, which I personally feel like is wrong. And not only that, a criminal or someone who's just overall cares about you or willing to go in above and beyond for your safety, because not all criminals are rapists, murderers, and killers. It's just somebody who's just been charged by the judicial system. Somebody who has a DUI is a criminal in the eyes of the justice system. Even though that a lot of us, I see it as a serious crime, but even though a lot of us may not see that as a serious crime, some people could potentially face a lot of restrictions, or, for example, just simply having your car license taken away, which is your main way of transportation and work. A lot of days, word to mouth is typically the only way that you're being put on the job. Indeed will have you scrolling for years and have you turning in fake applications and blowing up your phone with notifications with job offerings that you don't even have, because they're giving you fake offers just to keep you consistently scrolling on their app and increasing the money they get from the ad revenue that they get from you just simply scrolling. Everything just simply isn't right, and also could be seen as an extra way to make money. I don't care what state you are, and I doubt that whatever country you are, as long as it's, I don't want to say third world, but whatever category you throw America in, I guarantee you that it's a dealer or somebody who does marijuana or something of the sort around you. There goes a healthy vice, which, you should do your research. It differs person to person. But there's a healthy vice that don't face a lot of restrictions in a lot of states. Luckily, in some of them, they became legal, that you could even go buy a FFL4, and, you could just end up selling your cannabis, marijuana, or whatever product you choose. Once again, I'm not advocating for it, but if we're being real, they have stopped people from potentially doing worse crimes, such as robbery or car theft, which could end up leading to shootout and more potential deaths than someone's just passing off a bag of cannabis, in my opinion. Not only that, we also need to remember how much of a part they play in just about every form of corporate field, whether it's a warehouse or McDonald's, or whether it's a big corporate building like managers that run the CEO of Coca-Cola. There's typically somebody who got their hands in dirt. In my opinion, there's pretty much no one that has their hands 100% clean. Like, if you littered in the eyes of the judicial system, you're a criminal, although you may not have been caught or charged or just seen it as a petty crime. In the eyes of the judicial system, a crime is a crime, and not every judge is willing to be the nicest or non-biased, especially if you have a certain type of skin tone, if we're just being real about it. But I personally don't think people need to be restricted in certain ways that could be beneficial towards their life or could and potentially ensure their safety or potentially better mental health, especially, like I said, in terms when it comes to making sure you quote-unquote stay strapped and safe, and making sure that you have a vice, whether you don't want that to be alcohol or something legal or not, that to help keep you mentally sane. I believe you should do whatever it takes to keep you mentally sane, as long as it's not hurting or harming anyone. To each his own in that regard, but that's just personally how I feel. But let me know how you feel in the comments. The channel's pretty small, so luckily, it's not going to be too many comments that I have to go back and forth on, but I do want to hear other people's opinions.